Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me.
Hell no.
John Fink.
Are we still live?
Field of 68 till I die.
I'm sorry, man. I blacked out.
Randolph Children.
DJ Khaled, you know the big DJ Khaled guy?
Hands grown up and in.
Goodman needs to be fired all the time.
Josh Tasker. You're going to beat people straight up.
You know the deal. Drink responsibly tonight. I'll be drinking with you.
Jarrell McNeil.
From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
This is the Field of 68 After Dark on this Wednesday night, January 24th, 2024, and we are wasting no time in delivering the goods. I'm John Fanta, Rob Dauster, and Matt McCall are here. But before we get to those fellas, we're going to go down to Tuscaloosa to open the show because this was the most dramatic, the most electrifying atmosphere of the night in college hoops. Final score, Alabama 79, number 8 Auburn 75. Nate Oats is the head coach of the Crimson Tide. He joins us to tip off the show. Nate, what a win. What's your biggest takeaway from this victory over the Auburn Tigers?
We had some guys show some toughness today. We'd been lacking a little bit of toughness, I thought. I thought Grant Nelson stepped up, particularly in the second half. Rylan Griffin was great off the bench. We may keep bringing him off the bench. He can bring some pop like that off the bench. But, I thought Jaron Stevenson as a freshman showed a ton of toughness. So we haven't competed enough. We've got a really talented group. We're number one offense in the country on KenPom, but we get in these tight games and we don't compete hard enough. So thought we showed some competitiveness, some toughness. We didn't have a very good start to the game. We had an awful start to the second half, and then we still were able to fight through the adversity and figure out how to get a win against a pretty good team.
Nate, you kind of went after your guys a little bit with the toughness comments. And the thing that really stood out to me about that is when you have this new roster, sometimes it can be a little bit risky if you don't really have that relationship with your guys, if you kind of call them out. So what kind of led you to that? And were you worried at all that this might be something that wouldn't work?
Yeah, with today's kids and the culture today, you got to be careful with. But if we don't get any tougher, we're not going to be any good. So I usually keep it pretty real to the point where I get in trouble sometimes. But I'm gonna love my guys. I'm gonna try to pump them up, but I'm gonna keep it real. Like we were not tough enough. I thought we showed it at Mississippi State, got a big win on the road. We showed it tonight. We were awful with it against Tennessee, and we weren't very good with it in the non-conference either. 4 of our 5 non-conference wins, we were up at least 6 points with at least a 75% chance to win at some point in the second half. And we were up 9 on Purdue, up 6 on Arizona, and we're just not tough enough and don't compete hard enough to close it out, get the stops you need, take care of the ball. So I'm going to keep challenging them until some of our guys stepped up today, and some of them still got to get tougher and compete harder.
Coach, Ohio State, Clemson, Purdue, Creighton, Arizona, all in the non-league. How, with where you guys are at right now in terms of the SEC, and I know we're just getting towards the end of January, just your non-league schedule and scheduling in general, how much do you think that prepared you for where you guys sit right now in terms of the SEC?
It definitely prepared us because if we had to go through it and figure out that we need to get some toughness. If you're figuring it out right now because you play a soft schedule in the non-conference, we're not. What are we, 5-1 right now? What are we, 5-1 in the league? Yeah. We wouldn't be tied for first in the league after 6 games if you didn't get exposed in the non-conference. And, I didn't plan on losing all those games. That schedule looked really good when we made it in the summer. Didn't look so good after 3 straight losses. But I do think it makes you better. If you lose them, you get exposed. You figure out how to get better. If you win them, it helps your seeding and all that. So, I'm going to keep scheduling tough. Our guys got to answer the bell.
Nate, Mark Sears tonight, 22 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. And he just continues to be that guy for this team and for your team. You brought him in from Ohio heading into last year. Since you brought in Mark Sears to right now, how has he evolved as a player and how enjoyable is it to coach him?
Look, first off, he's playing much harder. I think he was always a talented scorer, he's figuring out how hard you have to play to win at this level, and he's playing a lot harder. 2 is he's a much better decision maker in pick and rolls. He's a point guard now. He came in really as a scoring 2 guard, and we've got him really good at handling the ball, playing in a lot of pick and rolls, making the right reads. And he's competing more. I mean, he was always a competitor. He hated losing, but he's one that was able to score so well that he would compete really hard on the offensive end and not always on the defensive end. I think he's a competitor throughout the whole game on both sides of the ball to where, he wasn't going to let us lose tonight.
Nate, I'm coming down for the Texas A&M game. We're getting in on Friday. Can you get me a room at the Alamite? It's there for $750 a night. Can you help me out with that?
That's Nick Saban's hotel. So I'm going to call Nick up and just tell Rob Dauster's coming. He'll know exactly who you are, I'm sure. And I'd be like, can you comp him a room? Like $750 a night. That's like a football weekend here. Like they're like, I don't know, $3,000 a night on football weekends. That's crazy. I don't know what. We'll figure your room out. Well, you can come stay at my place if it's $750 a night.
Coach, I live in a small town now down in South Florida near Jupiter, and no lie, last week I was out to dinner with my wife, and Coach Saban came in the restaurant, and he waited 30 minutes on a table, and he was smiling. He's enjoying retirement. He was enjoying retirement. I can promise you that.
Listen, this transfer portal, I think he definitely got enough money to retire nicely down there in Jupiter. He's got a nice spot down there. Maybe I'll get an invite down there.
See, yeah. Nate, you could tell Coach Saban that Dauster's coming down, but could you tell Coach Saban to help out Jeff Goodman if he ever needed a room in that hotel?
I'm gonna mention the 2 names to Coach Saban and just see what he says. Like, hey, these guys are coming in. They need a hotel. He's part owner. I don't know what percent. I don't know how much. I'm sure he doesn't have anything to do with anything. But I'm sure he'll just, done. Call him. Why is it $750 a night? The Texas A&M game's that big of a game here, huh? It's good.
Apparently,
Basketball's big here
tonight, man.
Basketball's big. Is that a weekend game or a weekday?
It's a Saturday game, man. It's a Saturday game. It's because we're coming to town. The people know that we're going to be there. That's what it is.
Yeah, man. It's a big event. It's not a tennis match. It's a big event. Coach Oats, congratulations.
Definitely not a tennis match tonight. Did not sound like a tennis match.
No, it did not. Coach Oats, congratulations. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate you guys. Hold on. Where's Goodman, by the way?
He doesn't work. Come on, man.
Nobody knows.
What do you think?
Nobody knows.
Is he down in Charleston? Like he just went to bed? Like I thought this was his. Isn't this
kind
of his deal?
Airbnb.
Yeah.
Is he in Charleston? Is that where he's at?
He was in Charleston. Yes, he was in Columbia last night at a different SEC game.
He didn't want to come to Tuscaloosa. So it's 11 o'clock on the East Coast time. That's too late for him. He's in bed.
Oh, he's old. Late.
He's old.
He's in bed. He's old.
Wow. So talk about softness. I mean, I can't call your players soft anymore, but I'm going to call a reporter soft. And so we'll see if Goodman's as sensitive as the players are currently. I don't know.
We'll find out.
The transfer portal. I just got the notification. He just entered the transfer portal, so he's gone.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right,
Nate Oats, thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, if Goodman entered the transfer portal, he'd be a multi-time transfer and would eventually have to sit out a year.
I know what he didn't have. He didn't have Tuscaloosa, Alabama as one of the greatest top 20 environments in his top 20. I'm not getting started on that.
I knew you were waiting on that. We'll get to that in the afters, maybe, as we all just got a text from Jeff Goodman telling us to fuck off. So Alabama won tonight 79-75. So McCall, let's get the coach's perspective on this. You're watching this game. This was a highly intensity type of game that goes down to the wire. Auburn's within a possession. They're right there. Grant Nelson nails. Mark Sears, terrific. What did you see in this game, and how did the Crimson Tide get the win tonight?
I thought the 2 biggest plays in the game were the back-to-back offensive rebounds by Nelson. The one, he goes completely vertical. He grabs it, comes down with it, and then the putback dunk was really the statement in the game. I thought that the physicality was just absolutely ridiculous. What both teams were being able to get away with. The game was officiated. The referees, and I never try to side with the officials, but to try to officiate that game with how physical the game was a challenge. And then the last foul call on a 3-point shot, to me, that foul was called because of how fast this game was being played. The pace of the game, you would have thought this game was being played in the 90s because both teams were flying it up and down. And huge win. I think the difference in the game was the 3-point line. Auburn goes 5 for 25. Alabama makes 11 threes in their own gym. That's the complete difference maker. But both teams playing at a high level, competing at a high level. And the physicality from both teams is what really stood out to me and what the officials were letting them get away with in terms of armbar, hand checking, picking the ball up. And you love to see it. You hate to see when there's tick-tack fouls being called. So, kudos to both coaches. Two of the top 4 best teams in the SEC. It's not even close. I give Nate Oats so much credit just in terms of his scheduling. That's why I brought that up when we were interviewing him. His team's prepared, going through what they went through. And look, everyone was counting them out when they lost 3 games in a row. Oh, by the way, the 3 losses were Purdue, at Creighton, and Arizona. Come on. This is a good team, one of the best teams in the SEC. And they're playing like it, and that's why he scheduled the way he did, and that's exactly what he said.
Yeah, Nate, you know what it was for me? There were 2 things that really stood out. One, you mentioned it, the offensive rebounds from Grant Nelson. The knock for me on this team was that it's basically built to have Grant Nelson kind of be a small ball 5 for a lot of the game. And I don't think he's got the toughness or the strength to be able to do that. And I thought he showed a little bit of something tonight. And the other part of it was, they struggle defensively. They are one of the best offensive teams, as Nate mentioned, like a top 2 offense on KenPom in college basketball. They're outside the top 60 in defensive efficiency. And that's not the kind of thing that's going to win you a lot of games in March, right? You can win a game. It's not how you string together wins. And I thought the fact that they were able to dig deep and get 2 to 3 straight stops down the stretch said a lot about what those players believed and how they reacted to basically being called soft by their coach in public. That's not a comfortable thing to do. And I mentioned it in the interview, but you have to believe in your players and believe in your guys to be able to go out there and say this about them publicly. I was also, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, I was really, really impressed with Auburn as well. They dug themselves a 15-point hole on the road in that environment against a really good Alabama team that can score, and they came all the way back, and they had a chance to win that thing at the end. And by the way, I said this, I'm anti-fouling up 3, McCall. I know that's not the best way to win. I'm here for the entertainment. Don't foul up 3. Let's get some buzzer beaters. Let's get some last-second shots. Let's get some.
Which wasn't a foul. Oh,
that wasn't a foul at all. Yeah, that was.
But because of how fast the game was being played, the referees called it. And here's my only issue: why did Pat Adams take so long between the second and third free throw? Did you notice that?
Because this is just
Baker Mazar, he knocks down the first 2, and then something happens, and Pat Adams kind of walks away, and then they come back, and it was
important question. Important question. 60 seconds. Robert, who's the best team in the SEC?
Oh man, I think I'm going to stick with Auburn.
Wow.
I think I'm going to stick with Auburn. I trust them defensively. I think the offensive is there. They come in waves, and I know that they don't have that elite go-to guy, but I think that it's just the group and the system can kind of overwhelm you on both ends of the floor. I'm going to stick with Auburn even after this loss.
McCall.
Go ahead, Matt.
It's hard for me to do this as a Gator alum, but I got to go to the Vols. Dalton Connect. He's that guy. He's the best player in the SEC. But I love the way that these 2 teams competed tonight. Loved it.
You know what my favorite thing is, McCall? You say this about every SEC team. It's hard as a Gator alum, and then you say whatever the SEC team is, you hate it. We're going to break. We'll be back in a minute. What's going on,
top
guys?
10.
Before we get back to the show, I need to let you all know about the Field of 68 Daily, an all-encompassing college basketball newsletter that arrives in your inbox, you guessed it, daily. For less than $1 a week, you'll wake up every morning to more than 1,500 words detailing everything that you need to know to stay up to date on the world of college basketball. From the notable mid-major upsets to the stars that are out injured to the breakout performances that only our team of college basketball junkies watched. The Daily is edited and produced by Mike Miller, who spent more than 2 decades running NBC's digital written content, and is subscribed by more than half of the Division I coaching staffs, the biggest names in college basketball media, and the agents that work as power brokers in the sport. For just $50 for the year, you get access to the same information that the insiders get. And before we get you back to your regularly scheduled Field of 68 content, let me tell you guys about the Field of 68 merch store. Head over to fieldof68.shop for officially branded Field of 68 apparel. Whether you're supporting your favorite team in the student section or from the couch, there is no better way to gear up than the latest from the Field of 68. The best thing I can say about our merch is the quality of the product. Anyone that has ever worn a t-shirt knows how frustrating it is when the neck gets all stretched out and the bottom of the shirt starts looking like the bottom of bell-bottom jeans. And there's nothing worse than a hoodie that loses its snugness that makes it such a perfect way to stay warm during the cold winter weather. Whether you're shopping for yourself or for the college basketball fan in your life, everything you need is at the fieldof68.shop.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. John Fanta, Rob Dauster, Matt McCall with you. A loaded night in college basketball. We will have a Big East whip around coming up, but we go to the Big Ten. This is about to go final. It's in the final seconds in Evanston. Another top 10 team goes down at Welsh Ryan as Chris Collins' Northwestern Wildcats are about to beat number 10 Illinois. Illini will fall to 14-5 on the year. Northwestern will go to 14-5 on the year and looks the part, very much so, of an NCAA tournament team with the quality of victories that they've been able to rack up here with a win over Purdue already. Okay, though, the other side of this is Illinois. Illinois about to lose at Northwestern. Rob Dauster, cause for concern for the Illini.
I think a little bit just because Boo Buie kind of did whatever he wanted in the second half and in overtime and down the stretch. And, you know, when you have, and look, I love Boo Buie. I think he is a fantastic player. He is so entertaining to watch. He gets wherever he wants. He makes a lot of shots. He plays with the confidence that I have after like 6 beers, right? He thinks that every shot that he takes is going to be a good shot. Love watching players like that. But if you're Illinois and you want to be like a championship contender, you got to find a way to kind of rein that in a little bit, right? But I'm not worried about it, man. Like, look, that is a good Northwestern team with a great point guard, one of the best point guards in the conference that went off 29 points and 7 assists. And this is the same team and same building that Purdue lost in overtime. Like, it just, so you're going to lose on the road in conference play. And I was significantly more concerned with the loss to Maryland than with this. It just, you know, you're going to get dropped on the road sometimes. I don't think you can necessarily read too much into it. There's things that you need to improve, McCall. Like those film sessions when they're watching Boo Buie, like kind of snake those ball screens will be something that won't be comfortable. But I'm not. Illinois still is who they are.
Coach.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like
no. I want to get your instant reaction to this statement. This is the first time in the history of Northwestern basketball, and you've talked about this before. I was on with you, I think, after Northwestern beat Purdue last year. This is the first time in program history that Northwestern has multiple top 10 wins in the same season. I know they're not one of the big brands. I get it. I know they don't have some rich history. But Coach McCall, it feels like Chris Collins is continuing to make history at a program that has not had much of it at all.
You know who else they beat at home? The Dayton Flyers, who's another top 25 team, who Dayton hasn't lost since losing to Houston on a neutral. They haven't lost, and they're running through the Atlantic 10 right now. So this is a really good team, and what Chris Collins is doing is unbelievable. Boo Buie, outstanding, you know, playing off pick and rolls, snaking pick and rolls as Rob alluded to it, but also picking up assists and setting up his teammates. I mean, this is a difficult place to play. This is an NCAA tournament team, no question about it. And that's a tribute to Coach Collins and what he's done since he's been there. You know, in the day and age of transfer portal and, you know, boo-booies from Albany, New York, could have come back east. He stayed. He hasn't left. And it's paying dividends for this program when it's a day and age where, oh, man, I had a good year. I'm putting up numbers. Can I go back closer to home? Can I go to Syracuse? Can I go somewhere else? Can I play in the Big East? No, he's stuck it out. And that's a tribute to Coach Collins and his staff. And this team is good. This is an NCAA tournament team. And they are knocking off teams, especially at home, that are ranked. And not only ranked really high. You know, for Illinois, they're dealing with a lot. And you have the Terrence Shannon piece, and now he's back, and he came off the bench the last game, and now he started this game. And, you know, he struggled at times in this game. He's dealing with a lot. And so, you know, you got that. I think that definitely plays a factor, but take nothing away from what Northwestern did.
By the way,
to me, the issue, Fanta, wasn't anything that happened offensively. I don't think Terrence Shannon played his best game. That's kind of to be expected when you are forced to sit out for 6 games for the reasons that he was forced to sit out 6 games. They got on the offensive glass. They played booty ball. They were 11 for 24 from deep. They put up 91 points. They put up, 76 in regular. Like, the offense wasn't the issue. You got to get stops. Point blank period. You got to be able to get stops.
One big note, fielding the 68. Which you can catch on Mondays and Fridays on our platform, had Northwestern. Our bracketologist collective bracket had Northwestern in the last 4 in. You beat Illinois, Rob Dauster, and Matt McCall's, but there's still season left. But, Rob, that's going to go a long way. It'll be interesting to see on our Friday show where the Wildcats move off this win.
Yeah, you want the reason they were last 4 in is because they have that loss to Chicago State at home, which is going to go down as one of the worst losses for a team that's going to be an at-large into the field. But as Northwestern wins more games and as the season progresses and as they just stack up things like beating Illinois at home, and they're probably going to find a way to get to like 11 wins in the Big Ten. And that will eventually outweigh having that one ugly anchor on their resume. Now, it might knock them down from being like a 7 seed to an 8 seed, something like that. It might hurt their seed line, but as you play more games and you add more to that resume, it's going to level out a little bit. Like, they're going to, as long as they don't do something dumb, like lose 10 of their next 11, which I think they're probably too good for that. They're a tournament team, and you can watch. Like, this is the one, McCall. This is the eye test one. Like, you watch them play, and that team should be dancing. I'm sorry, they should.
I totally agree, but I'm on your page too, just in terms of the anchor with the Chicago State law. I mean, that was. If they don't have that on their resume, we're not even having this conversation. But they do. They do. That's why every game matters. Every game matters.
Mm-hmm.
So because the Illinois fans are going to be tuning in right now, and because our friend Jeff Goodman just tweeted out the question, I'm going to try to ask that question here so that the people tuning in actually get an answer to that question. Rob, is Illinois an actual Final Four contender?
Yes. Without a doubt, yes.
There's
no question in my mind, yes.
I got to hear why here.
Because they can give you different looks. They can play Coleman Hawkins at the 5. They can play Dane Danger at the 5. They can really defend. They can score in transition. They can play in the half court. They have 2 different guys that can win games on their own, and that's not even including Coleman Hawkins when he plays at his best. I think that they are a little bit more inconsistent than would make me feel comfortable like going all in on them. But I think that this is a very, very good team with a very, very high floor that also has a ceiling. Like, to me, they're one of the top 12 teams. And even with this loss, man, I'm probably still going to have them ranked in the top 10. And I think if you're ranked in the top 10, you're good enough to win 4 games in March. And we'll get to this in a little bit, but like there are some things that go along with their numbers to me and how good they are on both ends of the floor that kind of raise that ceiling. I'm in on the Illini. It's worrying that they went through like the defensive struggles they had, especially in the second half tonight. But mean, that's going to happen. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the other team and say, boo booey. You know what? He carved up Purdue and Illinois. Like, let's put some respect on his name, man. That boo booey's doing things.
You were nodding too, McCall. Are you actually buying Illinois to be that type of team? Because I'll be honest with you guys. I think it's a Sweet 16 team that I would be surprised if they were one of the last 8 standing. It would surprise me. I know where they're ranked. I get where they're ranked. But to me, they gave up 20 points in a 4.5-minute span tonight to Northwestern. Boo Boo, he's not just one of the best guards in the conference. He's one of the best guards in the country. But McCall, they're as good as they sometimes can be, and that's the Final Four upside, is as tough as sometimes they can be with shot selection and just certain lapses in games. That's why I have some trust issues with them big picture. And frankly, Brad Underwood hasn't been able to break through in March Madness at Illinois.
Yeah, and again, I think Tennessee's really good. Giving up to 86 to Tennessee like they did earlier in the season. But I still don't know if we've seen this team with the Terrence Shannon situation and everything that's transpired. I just don't know that we've seen this team at its best. And I think we've all said this, that you could make a case that Terrence Shannon was the second best player in this conference at multiple different times. I mean, we'll never take Zach Edey off that throne. If Zach Edey wasn't in the league, could he take that? But I just don't think that we've seen them complete yet. And there's still a lot of basketball to be played. They're trying to work him back into this mix. This has been a huge distraction for them in their program. So obviously the tournament comes down to matchups, everything like that. I think the talent is definitely there. I think the talent is no question there. The loss to Maryland, and then they turn around and they beat Michigan and Rutgers and they lose tonight. It's like, okay, figure some stuff out. You got Indiana and Ohio State coming up. Like, where is this team at in 2 weeks from now? I think it could look completely different than they do right now.
It's interesting. You look at the Big Ten now, and you've got Wisconsin at 7-1, Purdue, who's won 4 in a row and is now 18-2 overall at 7-2, Illinois at 5-3, and Northwestern at 5-3. And then there's a whole cluster, frankly, in the middle of this league. Do you think, Rob, you're on an island here a little bit, but do you think, hey, the Illini are definitely the second best team in the Big Ten? Because if you're talking Final Four, they better be, or because Wisconsin's in first place in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I think Illinois is I would trust them more than Wisconsin in the NCAA tournament. I'm not quite as high on Wisconsin as some other people. I don't necessarily love the firepower they have offensively. I would have them as the second best team in this league. I think it's Purdue, then it's Illinois, slightly above Wisconsin, slightly above Northwestern, and then it's kind of everybody else once you get past that.
I will say this, McCall. The Big Ten has gotten this rap like defensively oriented, rugged basketball, physical and there's a lot of that gets played. But for all that we criticize the Big Ten on, you have to acknowledge the fact that this league has 3 of the top 9 most efficient offenses in college basketball. Like, Purdue's 1, right? Illinois is at 9th. Wisconsin's up to 6th. Wisconsin, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, Robin. I don't know how you feel.
I listened to you guys last night. I don't like if they hadn't lost at Penn State, and I know they lost, and they gave up a ton of points. Coming out of the Tennessee Providence games, they were the hottest team in the country.
Yeah.
They were the hottest team in the country.
And what you have to like about them is they have 5 guys, but you're disagreeing.
No, I hear what you guys are saying. I just can't get the ass whooping they took at Providence and the ass whooping they took at Arizona out of my head. Like, yeah, and look, the win over Marquette was good, and they won at Michigan State, which looks a lot better in the metrics than it probably does in real life. And they've strung together a bunch of wins in the Big Ten, but it's like, I'm just not going to be all that moved by beating Iowa at home or beating Nebraska at home. Like it is what it is.
Speaking of bubble teams, the Providence Friars were in action tonight. Could they get a road win in New Jersey? This is After Dark.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 each and every week of the college basketball season. We have a special offer that will be available starting on Tuesday, January 9th and running through Monday, February 12th, the morning after Super Bowl 58. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, in honor of the big game, you can use the bonus code FIELD158 and you'll get $158 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD158. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD158 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create separate accounts in each state. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the heart of the college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odd boosts, and my favorite, a nice juicy parlay boost. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Field 158.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark on this Wednesday night. I'm John Fanta. Matt McCall is here. Rob Dauster is here. And let's go to the Big East. A couple of Metropolitan games tonight that meant something. Providence at Seton Hall. Friars hadn't played in a week. They're 3-4 in the Big East entering the game. They've got a Georgetown team coming in Saturday. It's not about the team. It's more about Ed Cooley's return. So where's Providence's headspace at? In a good one. The Friars were down by 10. They were down by 10. They looked like they were staring at defeat against the Seton Hall team that did not have Kadari Richmond, and the Friars win 67-63. It is a major quadrant one road win. They did not have a road win of significance this season. Change that, and they come back and find a way behind Devin Carter, behind Josh Oduro, behind Ticket Gaines. Rob Dauster, are you buying the Friars?
I am buying them as a tournament team, and though we could flash the Vaulted up on the screen. Vaulted's an app that you can use predictions and challenge your friends. You guys know the spiel at this point, but my Vaulted challenge is that I think Providence ends up finding a way to get into the NCAA tournament this year. Fanta, I think that picking up a couple of road wins after that 4-game losing streak was really important for them. Finding a way to kind of turn the momentum around after the Bryce Hopkins injury is really important for them. Now they get Georgetown at home, which is something that they should win before heading to what is a pretty brutal stretch at UConn, at Villanova, Creighton at home, at Butler, St. John's at home. So that's where they're, to me, in my opinion, that's where their tournament is going to be made or broken, I guess. It's the make or break stretch for them. So I think they got to get a couple of those wins, but I was very, very impressed with finding a way to come back on the road against a tough physical Seton Hall team and get a win that they absolutely needed.
Coach McCall, this was a spot where Seton Hall's up by 10. Alamir Dawes is hitting shots. And this Seton Hall team, without Kadari Richmond, I was calling the game, and I got to be honest with you, I was surprised at how well they were executing without a guy who had a triple-double. And Shaheen Holloway just keeps finding ways to get this team, if they're not winning, they're in these games, and they were in position tonight. It's not like they had a crowd of 13,000 rabid fans. That's not how it was in Newark on a Wednesday evening. But Providence looked like they were in a tough spot. And I think that this is a big step for Kim English because you know, McCall, it's not easy to win on the road in your league, nor alone when you're a first-year head coach in a league like the Big East. His team showed some real toughness tonight, and it was his George Mason transfers who stepped up.
who are all really good players. I mean, Josh Aduro is absolutely outstanding. You know, I'm not ready to call Providence a tournament team yet. I'm not. After the stretch they went on, now they've beaten DePaul and they beat Seton Hall without Kadari Richmond, who, you know, he makes a difference. And Shaheen Holloway has that team playing at such a high level towards the top of the Big East. But to Rob's point, this is a big stretch. You know, Saturday is going to be an emotional game for Coach Cooley. It's going to be emotional for everybody that's in the building. Everybody's been talking about this since he took the Georgetown job. And I think that's something that Coach Cooley's had to deal with as well. And maybe, I'm not saying it's had a huge impact on his team and they've got to get better talent, they've got to get better players, but, you know, him leaving a place that he put everything he had into and taking the Georgetown job, there's a lot of emotions there, and there's a lot of emotions there that Coach has gone through. So these were two big wins for Kim English and the Friars, but I'm not ready to call them a tournament team. You got to see, you know, what happens. I mean, the stretch that they have coming up out of this Georgetown game will tell us a lot about this team. But Isaiah Ticket Gaines and Josh Aduro, those two guys are outstanding players that can play at any place in the country.
Rob, we're going to do much more on this when we are on site at Providence on Saturday. We'll have details at the Field of 68 with where you can find us, how you can find us. We are heading to downtown Providence. We will be at Amica Mutual Pavilion. We'll be outside in the morning. We will be at a particular establishment at night. But, Rob, I do want to get your thoughts looking ahead to Saturday. Just give me your brief take on first off, going there, and what you make of Cooley's return to Providence and where that sits nationally in college hoops.
I mean, it's going to probably be the craziest environment and atmosphere that we see in college basketball this season. Goodman loves talking about Chris Beard's return to Texas Tech and how insane that was, and I'm sure this will reach that level. I have no issue with Providence fans voicing their opinion about Ed Cooley. I have no problem with them yelling and screaming. I just hope that it doesn't go over that line to stuff being thrown, things being done that go beyond just making sure that he knows that he is no longer Providence's only son. That's all I'm hoping, is that it's something where that line, everyone knows the line, right? It's very obvious what that line is, and I just hope that line doesn't get crossed. But I'm expecting it to be loud, to be insane, and I am glad that they decided to have this be a 12:30 tip instead of an 8 o'clock tip. Imagine if the Friartown would have had all day on a Saturday to go to places like I don't know, Union Station Brewing, have themselves a couple Friartown IPAs. We'll be checking that place out later, but I'm just glad that it's not going to be that, because that could have gotten ugly quick.
Yep, I'm with you on all that. Hey, let's stick in the Big East now. Let's go to the Garden. Final score: St. John's 70, Villanova 50. This Villanova team, which costs around $3 million, is 11-8. And finds itself at a crossroads in the Big East at 4-4. And Rob, St. John just completed a season sweep over Villanova for the first time since 1993. What's your instant reaction to this win for the Red Storm and another loss for Kyle Mepton?
I mean, it's hard to watch Villanova play basketball at this point. That's 4 out of 5 that they've now lost after starting 3-0 in the Big East. The only win that they have in that span is a win over DePaul at home, and it doesn't get any easier. They're going on the road to Butler on Saturday before they get Marquette at home, Providence at home, Xavier on the road, Seton Hall at home. Like, this is a buzzsaw of a schedule, like everything else in the Big East is going to be. And I'm not going to lie, I think Villanova might be like one of the 5 teams I like watching the least in college basketball. They play at a snail's pace. Everything they do is isolation. There's no real creativity in what's happening offensively. A lot of it is just one-on-one. It's like, all right, we got these big physical dudes. We're going to let them be big and physical. And that worked when you had Jay Wright and you had great point guards and you had guys that can kind of get that first paint touch to create the closeout situations and all of the execute the concepts that Villanova loves to be able to execute, but it's a hard watch right now. I don't enjoy watching them, and I don't think that this is working right now. McCall, I don't know. I think you were the one that kind of set it off air, but I'll back you on this, man. I don't know if this is going to end up being a tournament team. I see them having a lot of difficulty beating some of the better teams in this conference.
Yeah, I don't think they're a tournament team. I don't. And to your point, just in terms of style of play, look, Jay Wright's gone. He's not coming back that we know of. He's enjoying doing television. He's enjoying not having to deal with the transfer portal and NIL, and he's good at it. And I think for Kyle Neptune, he's a really, really young head coach. And just speaking from my own personal experience, Kyle Neptune's got to be Kyle Neptune. He's got to play his style of play. He's got to put his stamp on that program, and not try to be or do everything that Jay Wright did. He's got to do it his way, run his offense, and he's still going through that and figuring that out. And that's hard for a young head coach, because when you're sitting there and watching a future or a Hall of Famer, and I did the same thing, you just want to do everything that they did. And you got to do it your way. You got to instill your core values within that program. And Jay Wright's Jay Wright. And for me, Billy Donovan's Billy Donovan. And we had great mentors, but they did it their way and their core values. You can't just continue to do it the way that he did it. You got to do it your way. And he's still trying to figure that out. And I think it's a development process, and the expectations are through the roof. He doesn't have a lot of time in reality. I mean, that's the day and age we live in college athletics. You don't get a lot of time. But I think that's the biggest thing right now for Villanova is, their style of play, Kyle Neptune putting his stamp on this program, not as an assistant coach, but as a head coach, and doing things his way and the way that he wants to do them, and not try to just continue to do them a certain way.
You know what frustrates me the most with it, and I think you really see this when you see St. John's play Villanova, is that Rick Pitino does so many different things and so many different tweaks, and there's so many different defenses that they run. Yeah. I've said this before, but if you watch them defensively, they'll play that 2-2-1 press, right? And that 2-2-1 press is it's not there to try to create turnovers. It's there to make sure that you get the ball over half court with 22 seconds left. And then once you get the ball over half court, you're looking at their defense, and you got to figure out, okay, are they in man this possession? Is it an actual man-to-man? Is it a switching man-to-man? Are they playing zone? Is it a 2-3 zone? Is it a matchup zone? Are they playing man on one half of the court, zone on the other half of the court? Do they switch into man halfway through? So it's he changes what they do defensively every possession. They run different things on the offensive end of the floor. He finds ways to be able to exploit different matchups. He knows where to attack. He has different game plans. He understands how to coach his guys and have them do what they want to do, and change what they do and tweak it to be able to match the opponent and the team that they're playing. And I just feel like when you watch Villanova, they try to do their stuff over and over and over again, and their stuff it's not working. Right? It's just not working at the level you want.
But Rob, let me ask you this too. Look, Jay Wright resigns. Okay.
Yeah.
And they hire Kyle Neptune. Essentially, Jay Wright's entire staff is still staying on there. So there's just this expectation that, hey, we're going to plug this guy in because he worked at Villanova. They're just going to do the same thing. And it's Kyle Neptune's got to do it the way Kyle Neptune feels is best. He can't just continue to do exactly what they did when Jay Wright was there, right? Because Jay Wright is Jay Wright. Kyle Neptune is different from Jay Wright, and then
you know what?
He kept the entire staff, whether he worked with those guys or he didn't work with those guys, whatever it may be. He's still got to try to do it his way and put his stamp on the program.
Real quick, Fanta, before you go, I want to say the thing about Jay is I think he's one of the best teachers of basketball that we've ever seen, teaching somebody how to play what he wants to do. And he just kind of let his guys go. They ran 3 plays when he was there. They didn't run offense. They just played. He taught them how to play. And I think Kyle's trying to do that. And this is not a shot at him, but he's not the same kind of teacher of basketball that Jay Wright is. And I don't think anybody is. So I think you're exactly Kyle Neptune's got to be Kyle Neptune. And I think that trying to be Jay Wright is just never going to work for anybody.
Here's how I would liken it. I go to a Jersey diner called Pompton Queen Diner. The reason why the diner is always great is because the owners are the ones who are at the front of it that let you have your table. The owners watch the entire staff. In August, I went. It was the only bad meal I've had. When I went up to the register, I found out the owners were on vacation. A great diner needs its owners inside it. This is After Dark.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 each and every week of the college basketball season. We have a special offer that will be available starting on Tuesday, January 9th and running through Monday, February 12th, the morning after Super Bowl 58. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, in honor of the big game, you can use the bonus code FIELD158 and you'll get $158 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD158. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD158 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create separate accounts in each state. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the heart of the college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odd boosts, and my favorite, a nice juicy parlay boost. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Field 158.
Here we go. Field of 68 After Dark. John Fanta, Matt McCall, Rob Dauster. We're going to change things up. We're going to mix things up here. Rob has brought something special for McCall and I to do tonight. All right, Rob, take it away.
So we're going to play a little game. I'm calling it Rob's Elite 8, which is super creative, I know. So what I did was I put together a list of the 8 teams that I think are the 8 that you have to pick from when it comes to who can win a national title. And there's a couple things that went into this. For starters, if you look at KenPom, right, and you look at where teams were ranked heading into the NCAA tournament on KenPom in adjusted offensive efficiency and adjusted defensive efficiency, there's never been a team that entered the tournament ranked outside the top 25 to win the national title in offensive efficiency. And there's never been a team ranked lower than Tyler Hansborough's North Carolina Tar Heels. They were ranked 39th in adjusted defensive efficiency heading into the NCAA tournament in 2009. So essentially, you got to be top 25 in offense and you got to be top 40 in defense heading into the tournament to have a chance to be a national title contender. Right now, there are 11 teams that check those boxes. Purdue, UConn, Arizona, Illinois, Duke, North Carolina, Tennessee, Houston, and then 2 outliers, Gonzaga and BYU. So I am teams that didn't make the cut. Kentucky, Baylor, Alabama, and Wisconsin are all outside the top 40 in adjusted defensive efficiency. Kansas and Creighton are outside the top 25 in adjusted offensive efficiency as of today. I'm going to cut Gonzaga and BYU because I think that BYU is kind of a metrics darling and I'm just not buying Gonzaga this year. Sorry, Zags fans. I've loved you guys. I've ridden for you guys. I've been the number 1 Zag supporter this side of Dan Dickow. Can't get there this year. And I'm gonna cut Tennessee and Houston. And I know those ones might be controversial, but historically speaking, it's better to be elite offensively with a kind of borderline defense than it is to be elite defensively with a kind of borderline offense. So those two, I think, kind of I'm gonna remove from the mix. So that means my 7 teams out of that top 11 that hit those thresholds: Purdue, UConn, Arizona, Auburn, Illinois, Duke, and North Carolina. Those are my 7. The one wild card that I'm throwing in 2014, the only team that won a national title ranked outside the top 25 in adjusted offensive efficiency was the UConn Huskies, who were led by Shabazz Napier and Ryan Boatwright. And how did they do it? They had a team with a top 10 defense in the country and 2 guards that were absolute killers that could win you a game on any given night. Marquette The Golden Eagles
I'm
are
watching
number
McCall.
11. A number 11 in adjusted defensive efficiency with two guards that can beat you on any given night, Tyler Kolek and Cam Jones. So those are my 8 teams. Trevor, let's get that graphic back up there again. This is my Elite 8 of teams, the only 8 teams in college basketball that could win a national title. Hate me if you want, love me if you want. These are my 8 teams: Purdue, UConn, Arizona, Illinois, Auburn, Duke, North Carolina, and Marquette. Go ahead, boys. Have at it. Take the knives to it. Do whatever you need to do. Eviscerate me. That's my team. That's my list. What do you got? McCall, I see you shaking your head. I see you rubbing your face. Go ahead. Oh, he's frozen. Yeah, it's a perfect time. Perfect time for his audio to go out. Yes.
Okay, I'll go. Here's
That's
the
the
deal.
gods of content
Here's the
saying that
deal.
Rob was right and McCall is wrong.
Yeah, here's the deal on this. Put the list back up here, okay? Now, Illinois, it's not just because they lost tonight. They got too much stuff going on. They're not winning the national championship. They're a good team. They can make the second weekend. And they could get to the Elite 8. And hell, you could make it. I just don't think that you're in a position to win it all. Duke, I don't trust Duke. Duke has not been able to prove that they can reliably win away from Cameron Indoor Stadium. All right? Do they have the upside? Yeah. But I'm not convinced. To me, you've got a couple teams in there that I don't trust. So, if I can replace, I'm taking Illinois out. And you know what I'm going to replace them with? Not a team where I know everything about them. If I'm betting on a team in your game, it's a criminal offense that Kentucky's not in that group. Kentucky should be in that group. They can win it all. You know why? They've got the most upside in all of college basketball. It could be Rob Dillingham. It could be Reed Shepherd. It could be DJ Wagner. It could be Antonio Reeves. Trey Mitchell helps them out. Now Big Z, Zvonimir Ivisic. He had one off night. He had a tough night. He's going to go through some things. The fact is, though, you can't look at college basketball right now, put a grouping of 8 teams together, and not pick the one with the most upside. So, Big Blue Nation, you should be cheering for me right now because I believe you belong in Rob's game.
McCall, we got you back? No,
We don't have
McCall
him back. Throw up the thing again. Throw up the game again. I want to see the graphic again. Wait a minute. Why not Kansas? Tell me why, Rob.
Because they do not hit the thresholds. They are 28th in adjusted offensive efficiency and outside the top 25. That was the cutoff. If you want to put Kansas in there, you can absolutely put Kansas in there. But playing the game that I was playing and putting that stuff together, just look. What I'll say about Kansas is this: I am worried about the firepower offensively and what happens when things can kind of get bogged down with Johnny Furphy there. And the impact that he's had for the last week and a half. If that continues, then it's a different conversation. If that continues, then they're absolutely going to be a top 25 team offensively in 3 weeks. Then we'll have to change who that 8 is. I think that with Kentucky, look, I love the upside and I'm 100% with you. I'm just very, very worried about the issues on the defensive side of the floor. Like Fanta, that game last night was a tough watch. They gave up 79 points to one of the slowest teams in college basketball who didn't even really play all that well on that end of the floor. So we got McCall back. Matt, go ahead.
First of all, sorry if I guess my microphone was messing up there, but you're counting out Houston and Kelvin Sampson?
Wow.
You really are? All right, hold on. The last 3 years, Final Four, Elite 8, and Sweet 16.
Yep.
And you're saying because the numbers and the metrics and your Mr. Kinpom don't have them predicted to be – their defense travels. I don't care. I don't care who they're playing. Their defense is going to travel. And if they get hot in the tournament, watch out. Are you serious? How would you count them out of your metrics?
Exactly.
And all this
and
stuff.
They got guards.
The last 3
It's a
years,
formula, McCall. It's a
the
formula.
Elite
It's a formula. Respect the analytics.
the analytics and the numbers, they counting out Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah,
they
and
just
I
held
don't
UCF
think-
for like 42 points.
Well, now say something nice about Tennessee. Now say something nice about Tennessee.
Oh, now you're gonna make me do that too, huh? Look, my issue with Tennessee is Rick Barnes' track record just in terms of the NCAA tournament. I think Coach Barnes is an old school coach. I think that they practice and they get after it and they go in there and they get better and they really, really improve. And I think in today's day and age, practicing 2.5, 3 hours, I think at the end of the year, it may wear on you and may have an impact in the NCAA tournament. I think they're the best team in the SEC. Do I think they advance furthest of all the teams in the SEC? No, just based on the track record of Coach Barnes' teams. And he is an unbelievable coach. But I think that there's something to be said about that.
Wait a minute.
Just in terms of the numbers.
You don't have a single Big 12 team on here? Come on.
Best league in the country.
Child, please. Child, please.
Best league in the country.
I'm offended for the Big 12. For the Big 12. I mean, come on. You should issue an apology to Brett Yormark in the Big 12 conference.
You should have heard me last night when I made the argument that the Big 12 is the most overrated conference in college basketball. You would not have been a fan of that one.
What? You did what? You called the Big 12 the most overrated conference in college basketball?
That's not the.
What are you eating? What are you eating and drinking down near Philadelphia?
It's not Coors
edibles
Light.
Are legal.
Edibles
are
are
legal here.
high-level IPAs. It's not just
high-level
IPA.
Edibles are legal here in New Jersey. Fanta, you should know that. No, the point that I made about the Big 12 is that as they cannibalize each other, because you had so many wins over mediocre non-conference
which is
resumes.
going to prepare them for the NCAA tournament. It's going to prepare them.
Okay, we can see.
Remember,
this list completely changes as soon as Ken Palm changes his metrics and somebody else is in the top 25. We can do this every day. It'll be completely different.
You and Mr. Ken Palm drink IPAs together? Are you and Ken? You guys got to hang out? You and Mr. Ken Palm?
He's probably a big IPA guy. He's definitely a big IPA guy. Can we find out about that?
I don't think Ken is like a rager in his basement just pounding IPAs. Maybe.
Maybe he is.
You don't have to be a rager to enjoy a nice cold IPA, Fanta.
No, you don't. But you'd have to be a rager to call the Big 12 overrated. And you're talking about the league. You're talking about the league cannibalizing itself. You're on cannabis with that take. That'll do it for us. Rob Dauster, Matt McCall, I'm John Fanta. The afters on Stadium are next.